Okay, everyone, thank you for sharing. We're going to go ahead and get started. Does everyone see the PowerPoint slide okay? Just thumbs up if you can on the chat. That'll be helpful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, so Fundraising 101. And in the chat, if you all could write or type whether you've been involved in fundraising in one form or another. I'd like to see how many of you have already started some fundraising. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my background and how I've been fundraising for the last 35 years. I've been involved with Unity since I was a young person and actually a teenager, wanting to go to my first Unity conference. And I was, of course, only familiar with the types of fundraisers that teenagers mostly do, which is, the normal food sales, raffles and such. So that's how my fundraising career began. After that, I worked as or not worked, but volunteered my time as a trustee for Unity. And I was able to host some golf tournaments. And I was able to raise 6 figures through golf tournaments. Aside from that, I also served as a youth council advisor, and I was in charge of assisting the youth to fundraise so that they could attend the National Unity Conference. So, and that was the San Carlos Apache Youth Council. And we were able to raise several $1,000s to attend the conference until the tribal council added the youth council to its annual budget line item. And I also assisted with that effort. I also, of course, as executive director, I'm in charge of seeing the overall fundraising efforts of our organization. So fund development has been a big part of my job here at Unity. Okay, and so I just wanted to share a picture from those younger years when I first met J.R. Cook, and again had to fundraise to attend the national conferences. So you want to go to the national conference, but what? So again, in the chat, if you could type what it is that is holding you back from attending the conference. So in most cases, I'm guessing that you need to raise funds to go to the national conference, and it is worth the effort. So trust me, I really appreciate those who dedicate their time and their effort to raising money. So we're going to go ahead and move on. All righty. So just in case you're wondering, I put together all the expenses I believe you will need to get to the National Unity Conference. And some of you may have already done this. And the estimate will fluctuate depending on whether you're going to fly or whether you're going to drive. So of course, the registration fee is $350. And that will go up after May 31. So after May 31, it will be $400. Airfare and luggage, depending on where you're coming from, is now upwards of $600. And how do I know this? I know this because Unity pays for many of its youth leaders to attend Unity, and we are working with a travel agent to find the best deals. And a lot of it is averaging around $500 or $600. Now, if you're driving, of course, that might be a little bit cheaper, so you'll have to adjust your expenses. So if you could mute your microphone.
It has been. I was like, is she really calling me?
If you're not speaking, if you could
Okay.
If you could mute your microphone, please, that would be helpful.
Correct.
So now there's lodging, and at the host hotel, the average expense for the lodging is $200.
Definitely.
So with
you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay, So if you could all mute your microphones, that would be helpful. Thank you. So the lodging is about $205 a night, and we average about 5 nights for the conference. So that's going to amount to $1,225. Meals, $50 times 5, $250. Ground transportation, we estimate this for Uber or Lyft to and from the airport, $80. Miscellaneous, I just threw that in there because sometimes, we need a little bit of extra cash for maybe it's something that you forgot to bring and you need to, run to the nearby drugstore or someplace else to get it, whatever it is that you need. So total per person, and again, this could fluctuate between people, especially if you're sharing a hotel room, is $2,575. Okay, in this presentation, we will cover 3 major areas: fundraising basics, how to get started, and thinking outside of the box. So of course, when you're developing a fundraising campaign, you have to have a plan, right? It's very important. And if you look up any website that offers ideas or tips for fundraising, it will tell you that you need to have a plan. So of course, that's the first thing. Set a goal. So you just saw the budget that it's going to take to attend the national conference. So if your goal is to raise money to cover the entire amount, then that would be approximately $2,500. What's your story? We're going to talk a little bit more about this in detail as we move forward, but it's very important to hone your story. You each have a story to tell. And when you are fundraising, it's going to be important that you share this story. Okay, so we're going to get ready to dive in. And everything that we're going to discuss today depends on how much time and how much effort you put into this. So this is going to be a measurement of success. There's going to be a lot of tasks that you'll have to complete. Nothing comes easy. There's no magic formula that I'm going to share with you today where you're going to just raise $1,000 just like that. That's just not going to happen. I know because I've been doing this for a long time. And anytime we ask for money, whether it was for the youth council, whether it was for myself, whether it was for the organization, it takes a lot of time and effort. So we want to make sure that you're ready to do that. Okay, so what's the plan? How do you get started? I would say the first thing you should do is to research ideas. And there's a lot of online resources. I looked up quite a few when I was preparing for this PowerPoint. And I found quite a few websites that offer ideas and tips on how to fundraise. So take a look at those ideas and suggestions and figure out what is best for you or your youth council. I know some of you are raising money as an individual, and some of you are part of a youth council, and so you'll want to check that out. In my experience, and I think you'll find this across the board as you do research, that the best fundraisers fall into 3 areas. Online fundraisers, and many of you are familiar with this. So crowdfunding, the GoFundMe pages that you see where people are raising money to help with medical expenses, funeral expenses, or just emergencies that come up. There's this organization or a website called Fundly, and I'm not promoting any of these at all. I'm just saying these are some that exist that are pretty much free of charge. You don't have to pay a fee or anything. And they do offer step-by-step, ways that you can set up a campaign and start soliciting for funding. And if you have other sources or platforms that you're aware of, please share that in the chat. We're going to do a lot of sharing today. And I really encourage that if you're familiar, that you can post it in the chat to share with everyone. So thank you so much for that. Okay, So the old fashioned letters, this is something that I worked with as a youth council advisor. I worked with the youth council to develop. And so we're going to talk a lot about this, and we're actually going to show you an example of something that I did that generated some funding. So you want to develop a list of potential donors, determine what each donor will give, personalize your letter. That's really key. And to do a follow up. Direct ask. What is this? This is actually where you're going to be making phone calls or you're going to be asking people in person. I have personally been put on the spot by people who were campaigning, and you're seeing a lot of this now with people who want to get elected to office. They wanted to set up an appointment to visit me in my office, and I said yes. I was interested in meeting this candidate. And after he introduced himself and told me why he wanted to run for this position, he asked me if I would donate $20 today. And he had an envelope for me handy. So I actually gave him $20. So this is when we talk about direct ask, it's involving all of the same things that you would do with the letter writing. The only thing with a direct ask, and this is something that I was taught because I also ran for office, is that you do not take no for an answer. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so we're going to get started. I hope you have, maybe you're taking notes, and if you're not, this is being recorded, so you can watch it again, but I would encourage you to take notes. So we're going to start with some ideas, and we're going to start right away with the prospect list. Now, who should be on your list? And I, of course, am going to focus, like I said, on what has worked best for me, what has worked best for the Unity organization. And we have a huge prospect list because, of course, we're a national organization, but you can do the same thing as an individual or as a youth council. I challenged the San Carlos Apache Youth Council to do this as a group. And so they brainstormed, we had a whiteboard, and we started listing all of the people who could give at least $500 or more. And the names that they came up with was quite interesting because I challenged them to think of people outside of their parents, because we know that, of course, your parents will most likely help you in some form or another. So we want you to think of people who could give $500 or more. Now that's for a youth council. So they came up with the tribal lobbyists, which I thought was really good. The tribal lobbyist for the tribe was actually based in Washington, D.C. So we put her name down. They also came up with the tribal attorney. So we put his name down. And another one they came up with was a county supervisor. And another one was a county sheriff. There was maybe one or two others. So they drafted a letter all together, again, working as a team, and sent the letters out. So of course they did their research. They found out, their mailing address and such. And then they decided, and this is according to their plan that they developed, who would write the letters, who would do the follow-ups, etc. So your list could include many of the same people: relatives, business owners, tribal leaders, community leaders, and who else? And in the chat, if you could share just off the top of your head, if you thought of anyone who you think could make a contribution to your cause. And in this case, it would be to help you get to the National Unity Conference. So aside from anyone that I've already named or listed, if you could put that in the chat, please do. Okay, the ask. This is really important. You need to determine what to ask for. So it will vary, of course, with different people, with the different businesses, but you know best what each individual or business can give. So it's really important for you to determine what to ask for before you make that call or when you write that letter. And how can they give? Can they give today? As we know, there's lots of platforms now that you can utilize where you can get money pretty quickly. And that's through digital payments, Zelle, PayPal, etc. And again, I'm going to ask you to participate. And if you can tell me whether you have something like this set up where you can receive instant um, payments. And I think this is going to be important, especially when you're starting to ask for money. I see people have been sharing who else to ask, and I see native businesses, native owned. That's good. Tribal casinos. Okay, very good. And those are on our list as well. Alrighty. So your letter. Now we're going to talk about what I have personally sent out, but I think the letter that you are preparing is important to include these details. Um, who, of course, that means you, introducing yourself. What are you raising money for? Where is this event going to happen? When is it going to happen? Why is it happening? Why is it important for you to attend this event? And how do you plan to fundraise, or how do you plan to reach your goal? It's important to share lots of details. Okay, so this is an email that I sent out in December. And remember, I'm in the business of fundraising, so I have to be creative and think about ways that I can get individuals to give money. We do ask, of course, money for money from the federal government through grant writing. We ask for money from foundations and corporations. We ask for money from different business entities, but we also ask for money from individuals. And this is where all of the things that I just discussed become important. So the details. So I'm going to just read this through, and some of you have maybe already been reading it, but I sent this out to, I think, about 75 people. If it wasn't for Unity, I may not be the person I am today, and that's the truth. Oops. I'm sorry, let me go back. Unity impacted my life when I was a teenager, and it continues to impact the lives of Native youth. I know because I see the impact daily. I see Unity youth sharing the great work they're doing in their communities and in their lives. Unity youth who wish to further Unity's mission are employed part-time in our office. Unity alumni who deeply believe in Unity's vision are leading our youth programs. Would you consider supporting this amazing organization today? Thanks to the many past contributions, Unity is able to offer year-round youth programming, such as the National Unity Council Network, Earth Ambassadors, Healing Indigenous Lives Initiative, 25 Under 25 Leadership Recognition, Unity News, and more. Below is a recent video developed by the Healing Indigenous Lives Initiative about Native youth mental health. Please take a moment to listen and share if you feel led. So I included the link for the video, and I ended with thank you for your consideration to give to Unity today. So of course that link goes to our donation page here, which is thank you in Apache. So in the chat, if you could give me some feedback. What do you think of this? It was an email actually that I sent out. It went again to about 75 people. And of course we know not everybody, opened it, but I will tell you who responded and how much I raised. So what do you think of this email? If you could just write in the chat your thoughts. It's direct and inspiring. Thank you. The email add depth and reasoning why donors should contribute to your cause. Well written and easy to understand. Thank you. It was straight to the point with all the needed details about your story with Unity. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, that was the goal. And I was able to raise more than $5,000 from individuals through this email. Many of them were Unity alumni. So it's very uh, pleasantly surprised that many of them responded. The largest donor was a tribal chairman who gave $3,500. Another Unity alumni gave $500. So more than $5,000 raised based on this email. All right, remember we talked about direct asks. And direct asks, again, are phone calls or just when you meet somebody in person and you know they can give. I have actually been challenged by a business owner, and he was a Unity alumnus and an attorney, very well known in Indian country. And I started talking to him about Unity, and he said, "Okay, give me your elevator pitch." He put me on the spot, and I was prepared. So it's important that you have your sort of elevator pitch ready to go. And I put some examples on your direct ask. So if you're going to get ready to pick up a phone, you want to have a script prepared. We do this here at the Unity office. I have prepared scripts for our staff who make calls, and they, follow the script and sometimes adjust it to, their liking. But something really simple. Hi, this is Mary Kim. I'm calling to ask if you would make a donation so I can attend a leadership conference in Minnesota. My goal in life is to become executive director of Unity, and this conference will help me reach my goal. Can you help me? Okay, and remember, don't take no for an answer. What does that mean? Well, if they balk at what you're asking, can you donate $50 to help me pay for my conference? No, I can't. I can't do that at this time. Well, how about $20? Can you do $20? My feeling is that most people can do $20. But again, as someone who has run for office, I have not taken no for an answer. And most of the time, I was able to receive some sort of donation, even if it was just $5. So I know it takes a lot of courage to do that, but I did have some help with somebody who was experienced at it, sit with me and critique me. And so that might be something that you would consider. Thank yous go a long way. I learned this as well. If a donation is secured, ask for a mailing address so you may send a thank you card. After I solicited donors in December, I had a box of cards and I individually wrote thank yous to each of them. I stuck a couple of Unity stickers in there and mailed it off. So I know when I receive a handwritten note from anyone, I feel very good about it. So it will go a long ways. All right. So I have a question for you. And again, in the chat, if you could share whether you have asked anyone in person or anyone on the phone to give you money or donate to a cause. So again, in the chat, if you could type whether you have ever asked anyone directly for money. Okay, a lot of I have not. We have somebody who said yes. Okay, yes. Keep sharing. I would love to hear more. Okay, and for those that answered no, can I ask you to share in the chat again why you have not asked anyone in person or on the phone? It could be because there's never really been an opportunity to do so, but it also could be just fear of doing so. So if you could, again, in the chat, describe why you have not asked anyone in person or on the phone for money. And it's just a curiosity thing. I know some of the feedback that I've heard from people in the past is that it just, they did not feel comfortable doing that. And because of the way they were raised, they just didn't feel like they should ask for anything. Um, De, Delava, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Delavai, I'm sorry. For me, it ties in with the fear of rejection. Ah, that's what I was just talking about. I'd rather not ask altogether to avoid being told no. Okay. And Kari, it's anxiety. I think people who think I'll always ask them for money. Okay, I get that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, other ways to raise money. So on the left side of the screen, of course, you see the traditional ways, right? So, of course, the food sales, fry bread sales, Indian tacos, tribal dishes, raffles. I see a lot of those, especially on social media. Lots of people raffling off ribbon skirts and beaded items and such. And then of course, we have the car washes and the yard sales. I have done all of those. um, Anyone else in the chat? Can you share whether you've done any of those at all? I'm going to guess that many of you have, but if you could share yes or no, that would be great. Fry bread sale, okay. Snow cone and craft sales, very good. So on the other side of this, of course, is challenging everyone to think outside the box. And what does that mean? Well, thinking of creative ways to raise money. So some of you, Caleb has mentioned fry bread sale, bake sale, car wash, yard work. Yes. Others have put yard sale, and those are excellent ways to raise funds. So thank you for sharing that. And when I say think outside the box, I would like you to again share some creative ways that you've heard of or that you've been involved in that have helped raise some money. Okay. Thank you, Jessica, for sharing. You have, you say you don't ask anymore because you get refused so many times. All right. I asked to get a job and to volunteer, also refused. So I have issues to ask for money. Ah, I get that. And you've offered services, coaching, healer, helper, and I had no as an answer. Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that. All right, arts and crafts fair. Okay, food sales, snow cone sales, raffles. Any others, again, outside of the box, outside of what we've already talked about. Some of the things that I've seen on websites that I've looked up are there's walks or runs, t-shirt sales, um, like a envelope tree, if you will, where they asked a church or a school, they could set up an envelope tree for people to take. Silent auctions, yep, I've done that as well. High-end makeup and bags, awesome. Those sound like excellent ways to raise money. Again, thinking outside of the box. Okay, so we're going to recap a little bit. I know that I've been going probably pretty quickly, but we have covered so far all the 3 areas that I said we would cover. Again, the fundraising basics. Remember, there's at least 3 things you need to do. So I'm going to ask you in the chat to share with me what you remember about the fundraising basics. What did we cover when we talked about fundraising basics? 3 areas. What's the first thing you should do when you're going to fundraise? And you can type it in the chat. Plan. Correct. And then you went into the second thing, which is to set a goal. Good job. Okay. And there was one more thing we covered. It was a part of my email. There you go. Thank you, Jessica. Plan, set a goal, share your story. Some of you are taking good notes or you have good memory. Excellent. Okay. And then we also covered how to get started. What did we talk about on getting started? And this could be as a group or as an individual. So if you're going to do a direct ask, for example, create a list, thank you. If you're going to write a letter, right? Create a list of prospects, correct. Write a script, right? Prepare your elevator speech, exactly. So that when you get on the phone or when you meet somebody like I did on the elevator, what's your story? What are you raising money for? What is Unity? So be prepared. Don't take no for an answer. Thank you. I appreciate that. Good job. Okay, we also, we talked about, of course, ways to raise funds, and we talked about the traditional methods. We also talked about thinking outside of the box. My focus today, of course, was primarily on letter writing and direct asks. So I know that for some of you that may be a challenge, and some of you have shared that you've already tried this. I encourage you to, and this is thinking outside the box as you create your prospect list. If you've been turned down by certain individuals, to think again about others that you may not have tapped into. So that's something that I challenged the youth council to do when I was the youth council advisor. And that's when they came up with the list of the county sheriff. Now, the county sheriff was actually a sheriff over some of the tribal land. So, and he also runs for office. So when they tapped into him, he actually dipped into his discretionary funds, and he donated $1,000. The county supervisor, who also was a supervisor over land that included tribal land, was able to give $500. I believe the lobbyists gave 1,000. And the tribal attorney, I believe, gave 500. So the St. Carlos Apache Youth Council, with just 4 letters to the county sheriff, the lobbyist, the tribal attorney, and the county supervisor, was able to raise $3,000. And again, that's thinking outside of the box, people that they wouldn't normally ask money for. So I would challenge you to, again, think about people who can help you. And Tammy wrote, remember the people who give to you get a blessing for giving and become part of your success story of doing positive things. Absolutely right. And I think as you're doing the ask, that's important to share. So thank you, Tammy. Okay, so I wanted to leave a little time so that we can ask or allow people to ask questions. So if you have questions, this is the time to ask. And I appreciate those that have submitted their input, who have shared, what they've done in their areas. If you have a question or even a comment, I would be happy to entertain that at this time. And here's my information for those of you that want to reach out. I can share, some of the resources that have been helpful. We are going to put this recording on Unity's YouTube so that you can view it later. If there was something that you missed that you would like to go back and visit, please visit our website at unityinc.org. We try to list as many resources as we can. And of course, we're on all the social media platforms. So I hope that you'll visit, you'll like us, you'll follow or friend. We really appreciate those that support Unity. So I'm going to get out of this and go back to full screen. And I'm going to just open it up. I know a lot of you are on mute, but you can unmute at this time. And I know that I said to, ask your questions, but if you want to share now, this is a great opportunity for you to do so. So I'm going to open the floor. Anyone wish to share? So one challenge that I would like to pose is, and if you could put in the chat, discuss if you are going to attempt to do some of the things that I've shared today, and which method are you going to try that maybe you haven't tried before. And you can do that in a chat, or you can express it here on the microphone. Okay. Direct ask. Good. Anyone else? Okay, and to remember, don't take no for an answer. Very good. Great new ideas for our council. Direct ask. Good. Another one's going to try and send out letters to businesses. Excellent. Crowdfunding. Good. I really tell you what, I've read some success stories where people raised money to go to college, and they were able to raise enough to cover their tuition. And I thought that was impressive. And it, again, really depends on how you tell your story. Practicing an elevator pitch and direct ask. Invite tribal leaders to Unity so they can see firsthand benefits of Unity. Excellent, great idea. Tribal leaders have avenues for funding to support youth. Absolutely. Golf tournaments does wonders. Yes, they do. And I had, like I mentioned, did golf tournaments for many years. It's a lot of work, but it can produce good results. When we did fundraisers for Unity, this is going back to early 2000, we were able to raise at our peak 6 figures. So it was very profitable. However, I think there was a recession or something that happened, and then everybody stopped giving. So they just froze their funding, and that happened for a year or two for everybody to recover. And it was really a challenge for us to again organize a golf tournament to make it profitable. So we don't do those anymore. And mostly what we focus on are the direct asks. Anyone else want to share? I appreciate that you are going to try some of the things that I am challenging you to do. I do have some exciting news. And so it's nice that you're here with us today and that you have chosen to take part in this fundraising webinar. I decided that I was going to put into practice what I have challenged you to do today. And so yesterday, I made a call to someone to ask for money. And this is a past donor, so I felt pretty good about it. This past donor has given $10,000 in the past. And so she pledged to donate $10,000 once again this year. But what happened during our conversation, and we had a Zoom call, so we're able to see each other like we're seeing each other now. I told her that I was going to do a fundraising webinar for Native youth and Native youth advisors. And she said, well, tell me more. And I was prepared, of course. And I said, well, these are people who are trying to get to the National Unity Conference. They're raising money for their airfare, for their lodging, to cover their conference registrations. Um, they are trying to raise money. And so I'm going to share some tips and ideas. And she said, I think that's great. And so she said, well, you know what? I'm going to donate $1,000 so that you may offer scholarships to youth who are trying to get to the National Unity Conference. And so I was super excited about that. And of course, I thanked her. And she was doing her Zoom call from her home. And I heard some background noise. And then she turned and looked back at me and she said, that was my husband. And he said he will match my donation. So now we have $2,000 available for scholarships. And we're going to offer them exclusively to those of you who have joined us today. But what that means is you will need to email me. I hope you wrote my email down, and you're going to have to do a direct ask. So you're going to have to put into practice what you learned today. Okay. So I want you to, if you didn't write my email down, I'm going to say it right now. So get ready. mk.titla, my last name, Titla at unityinc.org. Oh, there it is, Tammy. Thank you for putting it. It's in the chat. So in case you didn't get that, write it down. Okay, so, all right. I'm going to be judging your direct ask based on what you learned today. Okay, so this is your opportunity to put into practice again what you've learned. And we've recapped what I shared. So you're going to introduce yourself, right? Remember who, what, where, when, why, how. You're going to introduce yourself. You're going to talk about why you need this money. So you're going to talk about your story, right? That's really important, okay? And then hopefully, depending on our budget, we're going to have to stretch this a little bit, but we'll figure that out and decide, what the maximum is that we can give out. But we have some money to work with. So this is going to be good practice for you. And I hope that as soon as this webinar is over, that you're going to jump on that email. And maybe some of you are doing that right now. And I can let you know within a few days. And I'll critique as well and let you know how much we're able to provide and help you in your effort. So, woohoo! So I will, I'm going to share who that was, because I think she deserves some credit. It's her name is Vicky Vasquez, and she is with Tribal Tech LLC. She's a really good friend to Unity and has been very supportive over the years. So I just want to give her a shout out. Okay, is there a deadline set in place? You know what? Thank you for asking that. I think that deadlines are important. And that's one thing we didn't talk about, but a timeline is part of a plan that you should develop, right? So if you're going to send letters out, I would say start drafting it right away, send them out as soon as you can. And that could be, like, say, by Monday. Set a deadline for when they should respond. I would give everyone at least a week and then follow up with them. So set a timeline. So thank you for asking that. As far as the scholarships that we're going to be offering, I will say, let's give it, today's the 19th. I'm going to say, let's do this by the 25th, which is next week, Wednesday. All right. But if I were you, I would not put it off too long. The sooner the better. Okay. So you know what they say, first come, first serve. Sometimes that works best. So don't delay. And if you're a youth council, I would recommend that your youth council do this together. and that they all include their names and such. Okay? All right. Are there any questions or comments? And just so you know, I have again done something else on your behalf. I have reached out to another business owner because Vicky Vasquez with Tribal Tech challenged me and she said, I want you to use this and ask others to match my donation. She goes, I would love that if you would do that. So, you know, sometimes as a fundraiser, you get challenged by others, and that's okay. And so today I sent an email to someone who is a Unity alumnus, who's a very uh, successful uh, businessman. And so we'll see what happens. So we may have more. It just depends on whether others will match. And that's another thing that you can do when you're asking someone for money. If they give you $50, you could ask, can I share what you've shared and ask others to match it? So that's another good idea. Okay. So again, what was the deadline? What did I say? When are we're going to give everybody up until what date in the chat? May 25th, exactly. All right. And you're going to include all of the details that you learned in this webinar in that ask. And again, it's going to be good practice for you. And I will critique it and send it back to you. Okay, this way you can use it and use it for the rest of the year. So you can join us at our next conference. Our mid-year is going to be in Phoenix, but our next national conference in 2023 is going to be in Washington, D.C. So who wants to go to Washington, D.C.? Yep, yep. So fundraising will always continue, correct? So, and for those of you that are advisors, I would say this is going to be an ongoing thing, right? You're going to continue to ask for money. So one last tidbit, and then we'll wrap up. I mentioned that I worked with the San Carlos Apache Youth Council and helped them do food sales. We set up at a rodeo, dusty weekend, all weekend selling Indian tacos. We did all these different fundraisers. And then I finally challenged them to approach the tribal council. And so you can do this as an individual. And I know some of you are from Alaska, and I would challenge you to ask the Alaska Native corporations there or any other entity that has money. I know a young lady from Alaska who raised money so that she could visit tribal villages with an anti-suicide message. And she was able to get sponsored by a major corporation who funded basically all of her travel. So I challenged the youth council to approach the tribal council and ask them to include the youth council as part of its annual budget. So this means that if they do so, they would receive money annually, unless, you know, the tribal council decided they would no longer do that. So we got together, and what does this mean? It means putting together a resolution. So they drafted a resolution. We found a template, and there's lots of templates online. And if I can find it, I would be happy to share that with you. But they wrote a resolution. They asked to be placed on the tribal council agenda. And so I said, you need to have a budget. What are you going to ask for? They put together a budget, and their budget was for $35,000. And I thought that was wonderful. I said, you know, I'm just going to challenge you to think about what the possibilities are. One possibility is they could say, well, we'll give you half of what you want. So how about asking for double the amount? And that way you can maybe realize what you actually want, which is 35,000, right? So they put together a resolution and they asked for 70,000 as a line item budget to be included annually in the budget for the youth council. They all went and presented. They did a beautiful job. Some of them were really nervous. But after it was all said and done, we waited for their decision, and somebody raised his hand and said, I make a motion to accept this resolution at the full amount of $70,000. And then there was a second, and then what do you know? All of them voted unanimously. So I'm super proud to tell you that that youth council still receives money to this day. And I was their advisor back in 2007, 2008. So that's a success story for you. So that's another tidbit. So I hope that this was helpful. We've almost come to the full hour. I know we started a little late. So if there's any comments or questions, I would welcome that at this time. I hope that this was helpful. If you could put in the chat what you think was most helpful for you today, that would help me better prepare for these types of webinars in the future. But I tried to share what I thought worked best based on experience. And that is, again, the letter writing, the direct asks, telling your story. I have tried the online GoFundMe, and the most that I raised on that, which this wasn't too shabby, it was for $5,000. But it was for my cousin who lost his home to a fire. So of course, you know, that's a tug at your heart story. And those types of things people do, you know, tend to give. But I've done the birthday things as well, like, you know, give to Unity on my birthday. And that generated a few $100s, but not as much as I would like. Okay, so somebody said, I love the PowerPoint and examples. This was very enlightening. The demo direct ask letter was helpful. Having that example of you personally reaching out to do a direct ask while explaining what it is and how to do it was incredibly helpful and encouraging. Thank you. It was a great presentation, easy to follow, and the examples were great. It showed that if you can do it, we can do it too. Yes, yay, absolutely. I've raised $2,000 for a family friend who was fighting cancer from a bake sale. Excellent, Kari. Good job. I like the practice part where you are going to critique our way to do so. And I'm happy to do that. Thank you to share your experiences with us. I appreciate it. Awesome. Great feedback. Thank you, guys. I am so happy that you were able to join us today. And again, I look forward to your direct asks by email. And we'll see what everybody comes up with. And hopefully we'll get more matches and have more money. But in the meantime, again, don't let me be the end stop for you, okay? Please develop that prospect list. And I would challenge you to have a list of at least 10. So, and this is outside of like your parents or your partner or, you know, somebody very close to you. So outside of that, you know, family circle, think of others. Maybe you have I don't know, an uncle who has money to spare or something, and you haven't seen him in a while. Don't be afraid to call him up, you know, and be bold. I know it takes courage. Okay. Okay. Also providing us with an opportunity to practice what we learn is an awesome project and idea. Yes, absolutely. That's our goal. We at Unity like to do that type of thing, right? Stepping out of your comfort zone. I think I covered that. Expressing your voice. That's what we're going to do by telling your story. Be bold. Have courage, right? And that's what this is all about. So I hope to see all of you at Unity. I hope and wish you the best, that you'll raise all the money that you need to get there, because we want to see you there. We really do. It's going to be a great conference. And we haven't announced one of our featured speakers yet. We're getting ready to, but this is again, first insight for you guys, sharing with it here for the first time in a public space. But one of our keynote speakers is going to be someone who won a national network cooking show on national TV. And her name is Chef Piet to Spain. So if you want to look her up, and again, we're going to be announcing that soon, but she is Indigenous and she is excited about being at Unity. We have another a keynote that we're waiting on some final details. I'm not going to share just yet, but it's going to be exciting. So you want to be there. Thank you all for your dedication to yourselves, for wanting to better your lives, and to the adults on this call who are trying to help Native youth and trying to empower them by getting them to the National Unity Conference. So thank you for that. If you have any ideas for us where we could pursue funding, you think, you know, a corporation or a foundation or an individual might be willing to give us money, and it could even be earmarked for your group, we would be happy to help you with that as well. We're open to ideas. So you have my email. If you want to brainstorm, I'm all ears. Okay. All right. We're going to wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us, and see you in Minneapolis. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.